There's a loss of identity where fathers are concerned in the pop culture. I mean, the image of the father is usually either the bungling buffoon or the lecher or the abuser. I mean, those are the three kind of archetypes that we see of fathers today. And I think they begin to distort the very important roles that fathers play in our society and in that first unit of society, which is the family. And I think, as fathers go, so goes the family. They are the protector. They are the nurturer. They sort of set the tone for a family. And I think without that example, without that model in the household, how can you expect future generations to reach their full potential and to be the good people they're intended to be without seeing that model in their midst? It's very difficult without it. I think as Catholic men, we have an obligation to not only profess what fathers should be, but to embody it, to be the exemplar of what that means. Now, that's a hard chore for any of us. There was a wonderful story here in Virginia of an elder father, a father to a grown Down syndrome son, and he slipped and fell into a septic tank. And the father dove in after this man, held him up, held his son up for several long period of time, kept him alive because he was worried the boy would panic, and he was going into a panic and would sink and die. The father ended up drowning. The son survived. This is, in many ways, the embodiment, I think, of what it means to be a father. You dive into difficult situations, you confront them head on, and you offer yourself. You have to be willing to constantly make that gift of self to your family and to those around you. That's what it means. That's what we're called to. And I think sometimes we forget that, or we allow the pop culture to teach us something different. I face the same challenges, I think, as a father in this contemporary culture as anybody else. I mean, we have a 3-year-old daughter, a 6-year-old son, and a 10-year-old son. So they are about to enter, my oldest at least, about to enter that tween period that is so challenging. And my wife, Rebecca, and I, often talk about what challenges lie just around the corner. And this is also in conjunction with the daily responsibilities that I have in the workplace to go out into the world. And this is the odd and difficult, I think, real challenge for fathers today. You not only have to be the leader in the home, you're also called to be a leader outside the home. So there is this duality. You do feel pulled in two directions. Personally, the only way I've found to make myself present is to schedule, literally put in the schedule. School events, soccer games, time, dinners, breakfast, special things where they want me to appear at school. That's very important. And even though it may seem, and look, often it does to me, I have to cancel professional engagements, and there are many a party or dinner I'd love to go to, and might be important to the job. But you somehow at the time have to look at that and say, what is the most important and long-reaching action I can take in this day? And for me, it's the one-on-one time you spend with that child, because these are the people, of all the people in the world, and all the many people that watch you on television or might read your books or whatever, the people I will be accountable for at the end of the day are the 3 people that have been born to us and my wife. I mean, that's the family that I'm entrusted to. So I try to schedule in that one-on-one time to be as present as I can at their games and at dinner every night. Knock on wood, you try to be there. And it's a challenge. I mean, it really is a challenge many days. But watching the influence over time, the values you can share with a child, the tastes in music, in art, taking them to the theater, those experiences, I think, are what shape these lives. And what you're really doing is shaping the future. And that, to me, is a priceless gift. And the most important work I could do in any given day. I have to keep reminding myself of that, and I think other fathers do too. People often ask me, how do you bring your children up Catholic? How should we? Well, I'm no oracle in this department, God knows. They need only look at me at any given day, at any given moment. But what I have done, I grew up in New Orleans. And in New Orleans, you sort of breathe Catholicism. It's in the air. It's a way of life. It's not something we do on Sundays. It's not married to pieties. It is a full living lifestyle. It's organic to who we are. And I feel it's really important to pass that on to children. I don't want them to think of their faith or as Catholicism as some sort of ghetto thing done in private or in the catacombs, or to somehow shield it and hide it. No. This is the very reason that we have joy and conviction and can come out and hold our head high and try to make a difference in the world. This is what motivates us and drives us. So throughout the childhood of my children and throughout our married life, Rebecca and I have tried to take them to festivals, show them how the faith is compatible with some of the secular pursuits. The wonderful thing about New Orleans is we had parades and street fairs, and usually tied to religious holidays. St. Joseph's Day, the Lent. I mean, when Lent strikes in New Orleans, you feel truly deprived. We've been partying and going to balls and parades for the last 4 weeks. Suddenly it's gone. But these moments, this liturgical rhythm that New Orleans has in its bones, we've kind of tried to carry out into our family. So we have devotions in the household. At Advent, before Christmas, we light our Advent wreath every night. And then we also try to find ways to bring that into the public square when we go to New York and we're waiting in line to get our half-price tickets at the TKTS stand. I often point to Father Duffy. It's Father Duffy Square there, who was a hero in World War I. Well, they've got this huge statue. Nobody knows who this guy is. So I use it as an opportunity to tell the kids. Well, on a recent trip, my oldest son was telling my younger two children about Father Duffy when we were standing there. That is, I think, the way we have to go about passing the faith on. It has to be something very normal, very organic. And I think that makes it sticky to kids, so that their daily experience is tied to their faith, and it's not something simply balkanized for the weekends. I would tell families, I'm a little worried when I hear they're against television, because the fact is there are positive and wonderful television programs out there for families. Things on the History Channel, things on EWTN. There are even some news programs that I think are beneficial, and certainly fantastic movies and television series for kids. But you have to be discriminating. And I always tell people, it's your responsibility. You would not let hookers and pimps and drug dealers walk into your home and sit with your kids on the sofa for 3 hours. Yet that's what happens in many, many households. And we popularize the kind of disposable humanity that television at times promotes, and the superficiality. But I do think there are good things that you can draw from television and use it as teaching opportunities. So we use in our home a lot of DVDs. The DVR is a fantastic tool available to families. Get the scaled-down cable package. Use the DVR to pull the great stuff that you think your family might enjoy. Screen it before you show it to them, which I do. And you gauge it depending on the ages and where that child is, and you expose them to the things that you think might help shape them. But we have to be very careful. I mean, there's a lot of programming out there that is borderline pornographic, and not only the stuff where people are taking their clothes off. Some of the dialogue is equally as offensive. That stuff we have to protect them against. I think preserving a child's innocence for as long as we can, letting them discover the world when they should, is, I think, an important part of media literacy, and something we as parents have to take control of. If we don't do it, who is going to do this? Working closely with Mother Angelica for so many years, and having had the great honor of working on her biography and pulling that together, it was a 5-year journey for me. Traveling to her hometown, traveling to the Vatican, all over Birmingham, interviewing the people who knew her from the time she was a young child in some cases to her present state. There are many lessons I picked up along the way, and some I think fathers can benefit from. The most important lesson for me personally, Mother used to always say, we have to live in the present moment. And I was very confused when I first heard that. I didn't know what that meant, because it seemed we're here, so we're living in the present moment. And she said, no, most people, they live in the past or they live in the future. But you've got to live in this present moment and listen for the duties and the responsibilities and the callings that the Lord has for you now. Right now, not yesterday or tomorrow, in this present moment. Well, it hit me suddenly, what she means by that. So many of us, I think, are so worried about the meeting tomorrow, the dinner tomorrow night, that report you have to finish, the deadline you have next week. We miss this moment now with your family, with your friends, with people you will never, ever encounter again in your life. These are cherished, wonderful moments, and it's a gift God's given you. And if Mother has given me one great gift, it's that. I cherish every present moment, and I try to be fully present in them. But there were many times, and there still are many times, where I find myself struggling because you are concerned about the future or anguished about the past. But you've got to let that go because you really have no control over it anyway. You can plant seeds that might blossom one way or the other, but ultimately it's up to God to bless those things or not. So worrying doesn't get you very far. And the other thing she taught me is not to be afraid of pain and suffering along the way, that is sometimes how God intends your journey to go. It's not always a punishment. And sometimes in those painful experiences, you discover what God truly intends for you.